Hi, this is David Drake. I'm with Digital Innovators, and today we're going to have a couple of friends. They're going to join us and talk about art, music, and the arts in general. So today I want to introduce Julian, the pianist with hair, right? Is that right?
That's the new thing.
Right.
Julian, pianist with the hair. It's the rebranding.
And you have it just keep growing, I noticed.
Just keeps, hey, everybody needs something.
You have to curl
right?
it up now even more because it's getting too long?
Well, they asked me, well, what if you lose the hair? So I also got the domain name Pianist with the Wig.
Oh, that's funny.
That's,
I produced you, what, 12 years ago? And you ended up playing it at my loft almost every week when you came by. We had so much fun, and then one day I ended up being able to work with you there. And since then, I've been able to I had a chance to get on the New York City Opera Board for a couple of years and help them out. The Washington Ballet, I was advising them too. So you kind of started that artistic, momentum for me over the last couple of decades. So what have you been doing since?
Ooh, what have I been doing? Well, musically, I've been doing a ton. I kind of went from just being a pianist to also being a composer. And I think that with music, it's all about expressing something. And so now that I'm able to write music as well, it's a very exciting time for me. One of my recordings was just appeared in the very recent Keira Knightley movie, The Aftermath, and things are just kind of going well. But I definitely wanted to talk with you about something which you're also very involved in.
Which one?
Is Getting to Carnegie.
Oh, yes, I helped produce that with you.
Yes, exactly.
And Bill, Bill been working with my family office for a long time. You're also involved with music. We're going to go into the documentary that Julian created.
yeah.
Well, you actually made some music yourself.
Yeah, I'm the pianist without hair. But more as a hobby and assisting other people that are in the industry, et cetera. So it's something that's been a passion of mine for years, but it's not something that I'm a professional or formally pursue.
Well, you get proud of, Made in Brooklyn, right? So you've been working with the conservatory there?
Proud of Made in Brooklyn. And I'm very fortunate. I'm on the board of advisors at the Brooklyn Conservatory, and looking forward to learn more about what Julian's doing, and maybe we can get him to leave Manhattan or more or less Paris and get him to come to Brooklyn and to perform. We would really
well, I'm
like
sure
that.
you guys are going to have some talent to be on his next Carnegie Hall show.
That would be
10,000 hours at Carnegie Hall, right?
Yeah, well, that is the idea. I mean, I started this competition called Getting to Carnegie, and I think that getting to Carnegie, in a way, it's a metaphor for becoming the best that you can be. And so the slightly original thing about the Getting to Carnegie competition is that while it is for professional musicians, it rotates between violin, cello, and voice. At the end of the evening, where the 4 finalists perform, the audience is the one that chooses the winner. So it's, in a way, Carnegie Hall meets America's Got Talent, if you will. And because one of my big things is making classical music accessible to everyone and relevant to everyone, getting the audience directly involved by having them choose the winner is, it fits with what I'm trying to do.
Where do you see the future of classical music going? And what is it going to take to keep it relevant for the new generations, the millennials and the Generation Zers?
I think that the perception has to change, that it's something that is, a stuffy and boring and just an experience that is not interactive. People want things that are interactive. People want things that grab them. And when you come to a concert, you have to be able to just set aside everything, all your worries, all your fears, and just be in that moment. And I think people do crave that feeling, and classical music can give that. But of course, you have to give classical music a chance. You have to get into the concert hall. And so I see that as something that can easily happen, because it does have that, that way of getting into your heart. But first you have to get into the concert hall. And so I'm trying to change the perception about it being something that's not interactive. My concerts, as you know, David, are all about humor and making the experience fun and exciting, and
Actually, every single one I've been to, I'm always laughing.
Wow.
I got to tell you, he's making it fun, and it's not like you set out to be a professional comedian. You're just having fun.
Exactly.
And so you're impromptu, making fun of things on the spot. So
Exactly.
that is true. You're actually the only one I've seen do anything like that.
Well,
Culturally, are you seeing any difference between what your experience with the audiences in Paris versus your experiences here in New York City? I mean, you've lived in both, you've performed in both, you've composed and performed in both. How do you look at New York versus Paris nowadays?
Well, it's a very interesting thing. I have performed really kind of all over the world at this point, and there are differences in the audiences. Like an American audience is really my favorite audience, because an American audience is very generous with their emotions, and if they like something, they immediately show you how much. You know, maybe in Europe they're a little bit more reserved, and in Asia it's different, and in Australia again it's very different. But what I have found is that when you go into a concert, and after a little while you are not like on a pulpit, you're not preaching, you're just sharing the experience, then everybody gets calm and relaxed and has a great time. That I've noticed. By the end of the concert, it's as if I'm hanging out with my friends, and that's an incredible thing.
Yeah, you're living in Paris now, but background, you're Italian, right?
Yes, so I was born and raised
Yes.
in Italy, as you can probably hear from my very thick Italian accent.
Right?
And then I studied
Bellissimo.
in Bellissimo, and then I studied in Moscow, and then I came to the States. But my mom is from New York, and my dad is from Italy, and so I was very fortunate to be raised bilingual.
You speak Russian, by the way?
I speak Russian, but it's interesting with our kids now, because I speak to them only in Italian. My wife, who's Greek, speaks to them only in Greek. And we at home, my wife and I speak in English, but they go to the French school. So,
Oh, so all four of them, yeah.
so they're quadrilingual.
And we've had some good times. You know, we had anchors from TV networks come to my loft. There was a big, beautiful loft I used to entertain, and Julian was there quite often, and it was just lovely. You know, but my piano, my mini grand wasn't that well tuned,
Okay.
and he hated that, and I couldn't fix it well enough. But after a couple of glasses of wine for both of us, he was down there at the table playing, having a good time.
Sounded pretty
and everybody
good.
loved it.
Everybody
loved it.
Wow.
It was good times. And we could share a little bit about the loft, because people haven't heard about that one before.
Oh, the Soho Loft, it was an institution in New York. And if you missed it, I feel very sorry in a way. But it was just a place where people from all sorts of different, like...
Oh, by the way, it was my home, so yeah.
Yeah, but people would congregate there, and they would just... well, you did kind of need an invitation from Dave. It was helpful. But
Oh, you crashed?
I crashed.
No.
But it was just this place where, I guess because this different confluence of people from abroad and from New York, and people that were in a sense like-minded, that wanted to do something interesting, and they would just come together there, and so many cool things came out of that.
What I didn't tell you was that I actually created a manual.
Those events were being recorded.
No, they weren't recorded, no. But I had created a manual on how to train some of my friends, how to make sure everybody was happy. So I had key people who were there quite often, and they just made sure people got engaged. They made sure they talked to everybody. And you brought the music in with the baby grand. You know, you're right. I never saw anything like that since, because I was doing it almost every night.
Yes, that was the
Years.
incredible thing. And so it was a place that people could just say, well, let's go to the loft.
Yeah, it was I would like a tea salon in the old
Yeah.
days. Everybody would congregate and people were talking. It was vibrant.
Wow.
And we always fed people.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the generosity there was incredible. There was
Yes.
like an open bar
Yeah,
situation.
my mom wasn't too happy about me feeding everybody. You know what I want to call this? 11,000 people who weren't hungry.
Yeah.
I fed 11,000 people that weren't hungry.
That's it.
Because I kind of counted how many people went through the loft over a decade.
Oh, wow.
So there was, quite a lot
Incredible.
happened there.
That is a lot.
It's the chapter of my life that I'm glad that you can share, because I kind of forgot all of that, and you're bringing that memory back. And that's how I ended up working with you at Carnegie Hall.
Yep.
As a classically trained pianist, and now that you are composing, what is inspiring you? What are you drawing your inspiration from?
That's a great question. I draw my inspiration from everything that surrounds me. For me, I travel a lot, and the most important thing for me is always the people that you meet when you travel. And so I do get a lot of my inspiration from that. Now, of course, I have 2 kids, so my latest compositions have been directly related to experiences with them. I had lost my daughter once, in the busy Paris streets, and that generated a composition. And
That's
as you can
stressful.
imagine, yeah. And but it's very exciting. It's exciting to meet people, and people are the most interesting thing that you. I always found that by going into a museum, I would, instead of looking at the art, I was looking at the people looking at the art.
Oh, yeah.
That's-
Like my dad takes a lot of photos, and I take photos of my father taking photos.
There you go.
He's like, what did you just do?
That's
No, it's fun. Now, you're also doing, in the past, you've done a lot of Chopin and music combination.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I'm doing a lot of now. I do these soirees, which we call Chopin and Champagne.
Oh, yeah, that's
And basically, we pair different pieces of Chopin with different kinds of champagne. And it's an informal, kind of fun event where I talk a little bit about the music, and we have a sommelier talking a little bit about the champagne. People get progressively drunk.
But you know
more
what?
and more.
You know, the loft was my home, right? So it was a little more
Yes.
intimate when people came. And I know that when you had your champagne and music, Chopin and music, the combination was good because, you know, you were able to at that point do it in a setting of somebody's home.
Yes,
And that's
that is
intimate.
very important, I think. So we have done them at very nice homes so far, and the Avery Fishers have been incredibly generous in opening up their beautiful home, and it's very intimate, of course, when you're in somebody's actual living space. It does change it a little bit,
very
and it's a lot of fun, and.
No, it has been. And I like that intimate setting. And that's why I did these dinner parties every night at my loft, because people were more relaxed. And in New York, people have small places, right? So you never get an invitation to their house. And when you do, it's rare. Of course, now I'm older, I don't enjoy doing them anymore. But, you know, at one point I did 180 of cocktail parties at my roof for 1 year. And that was normal, because I had friends around, you know. That was normal, almost like the Italian aspect, right? You cook together in Italy, don't you?
Yeah.
And then build, you know, the lifestyle is more community.
Well, in Italy, it's very common to, you know, be invited to, you know, to a dinner party together, and that is, as you were saying, people become very comfortable.
Yes.
And then more interesting topics come up rather than just like, how are you? Where are you from? You know, you actually talk about things, what's important in life, why are you doing what you're doing? You know, what is the point to things? And those are the interesting topics that lead to interesting solutions and interesting things.
Can you share a couple of tidbits on what it takes to maintain a sustainable career as a classical musician? In New York City, there's this concept of the starving artist, and I'm sure there's some fear about young musicians going into the space, trying to understand what is their life going to look like monetarily afterwards.
Yeah, well, Bill, it's I would say it's more than a concept. The starving artist is very real.
It's pretty real.
I would say you need a lot of luck,
Okay.
and but it is true that in a sense you make your own luck, and
You hustle, you work, you have events. You play at I played at my place,
Right.
and it's like, David, you have a lot of people here. Can you invite them to the hall? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, of course.
you think about things differently. It used to be a different career, the classical career. It was always a very difficult one, but now I think in a sense it's almost easier because people are thinking in a very different way about how to make a career, like out of the box, like Chopin and Champagne or getting to Carnegie. Just a lot of things that you have to create to find your own stage. You have to create your own stage, basically.
Julian and Bill, thank you for this. You know, it's such a pleasure catching up with you after all this time. I mean, I've been to the concerts, but I haven't really had a chance to sit down with you like we did today and catch up over the last few years. My name is David Drake. This is Digital Innovators, and you should catch up with 10,000 Hours to Carnegie Hall.